Yes, my shit right here. Welcome back to another episode of Road to William. I got my cousin with me on the show from Ivy Ball and Basketball Show, Ashley. Tell them about your show and where they can find you.
Yes, my show is called Ivy Ball and Basketball Show on YouTube. I also have a Facebook community you can join. I talk about the NBA, the WNBA, and all those news, trades, free agency. I also do basketball movie reviews, and I do like different segments. NBA 2K segments, and also like family baller segments of like parents and their children balling in the footsteps. All balling news. If you want all that balling news, come to me. Just come to Ashley. Ripping the WNBA, baby. Ayy. Ashley, I'll be put your W's up, put your W's up, put your W's up. PG is free, back with the Mercury.
Yes, go check out Ivy Ball and Basketball Show on YouTube and Facebook, and Insta, all the platforms. Today's video, we're reviewing the movie uh, The Inkwell. I was about 1 year old when this came out. That means you was two. This was in 1994, and it's a star-studded film. Maybe not back then. They weren't as big as they were, but now they definitely are. First, I want to say, and it could be a few people that might have passed, but I know for sure. Let me make sure she did pass. Mary Ellis, who played the mother, Evelyn, the grandmother. She played the grandmother. Rest in peace to her, and rest in peace to Suzanne Douglas, who played Brenda, who played Lorenz Tate's mother in this. She's from Chicago, but she recently passed. She was also in Parenthood.
What? She recently passed? Oh, wow.
2021.
Wow.
Amazing actress. And then Mary Ellis I know her for Sparkle, the original Sparkle. And then Whitney Houston played her character in the new one with Jordan Sparks and all that. But just to the late greats, and the rest of them I think are all alive still. Everybody's still alive. Okay. But yeah, so Ashley, tell me about how you felt about this film. Was this your first time seeing it? And if so, how did you feel about the film?
I feel like this was my first time seeing it. I guess I missed this one. My mom said she saw it, but, I do like Lawrence Tate. I've seen a lot of his movies, Menace to Society, Dead Presidents, etc., etc. So, it's cool seeing him grow as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, I know some of these folks, Vanessa Calloway, and, I saw Morris Chestnut, Dwayne Martin, I didn't, I, I didn't know like his name, but I've seen like both of the, you know, I've seen Loren Tate's dad in the movie because I remember him playing in Scandal, and that was, Kerry Washington character dad. So I was like, oh, this is them, but it's now they're younger now. So my first takeaway was like, oh, this definitely has some like good 90s feel type of movies. Summer vacation with some relatives, because that's what you do in the summer. You hang, and you do trips with some relatives. I noticed that there was some tension. I noticed there was some tension between both of the dads. One's a Republican, one's like into the Black Panther, and I was like, wow, why can't they just all get along? um, but I noticed with Loren Tate's character, his name is,
Mhm.
oh wow, Drew Tate. Ah, that's funny. But I noticed that with Drew, it was like there was something going on, but no one didn't say anything, or no one really wanted to say anything, and like there was whispering going on about what he might have did. So
Mhm.
burnt down the house accidentally, and people were whispering about it, and I noticed he doesn't really have friends, and I was like, oh, why doesn't he have any friends? And he was seeing a shrink, and the dad Joe Morton, that's his real name, Kenny Tate. His dad was like, no, my son's not seeing a shrink. And, he didn't feel like he was a normal, 16-year-old, out with friends. He never really had a girlfriend. He's talking to, like a imaginary puppet wooden sculpture character. And, he was like, that's not normal. So, every parent wants the, kid to, do what normal age appropriate things do. And if you have sort of like a doll, and it's sort of like you have an imaginary friend, and that's for like 8-year olds. So, he was like, but the mom seemed like, I feel like the mom was concerned, but kind of was overtaken by, the Kenny character. But I felt for him because I'm like, oh. But his cousin Dwayne Martin Jr., Junior Phillips, he was sort of like the cool cat. But I also noticed like, um, Lawrence Tate's character wasn't like talking the same lingo, dressing like, so it was like he was in his shell, and I was like, oh. And I did notice that, once he started talking to the therapist, he seemed to open up, and he got he got a different hairstyle that was nice. So I feel like it was a lot about his growth and development as over the summer. I did feel like he grew, but I also felt like I didn't really. I feel like part of the movie is incomplete in a way. I know it was just like a summer visit, but my first time watching it, I just felt like, yeah, but there's still some things that aren't really like, what's gonna happen when he goes back to school and it's a normal school year? Like, what's gonna happen then? And I didn't know if he was still talking. Maybe I don't know if he was still talking to his wooden friend. I don't know. And I did feel like he grew more confidence. He obviously lost his virginity to a grown woman. I was like, whoa, there you go, buddy. And it seemed, I don't know, but it seemed like his dad was proud of him because he had a friend and he had a girl over. And I was like, okay, whatever helps bond you, I guess. But I still feel like they still need to bond over something else besides that. So I felt like there was, even though there was some character development in Lauren Tate's character, Drew, I still feel like part of it was left unsaid because, yeah, the summer ended, their trip ended, but I feel like the shrink did help. I did like the shrink character, but I feel like there was still some left unsaid. I did like, it was sort of tension between Kenny and Spencer, right? There was some tension there. I'm not really big on politics, but there was some tension, and I did like their back and forth arguing and their pranks on each other. That was cool. But overall, it was a decent movie, but I can't say it was overall like great. Like, I wouldn't recommend the movie.
So I used to really like this movie growing up. I think it was a good coming of age film. As I got older and watched it as a grown adult, it's things that it's like, no, realistically, that shouldn't have happened. He shouldn't have gotten his He didn't lose. He lost his virginity, but Heather, played by AJ Johnson, shout out to AJ Johnson. Heather Lee, I saw some takes on this too on YouTube. Some people was like, no, she took advantage of him because I think Jada Pinkett character Lauren
Hmm.
Kelly, she was like the talk of the town, but she also took advantage of him too. And it's easier to see that she took advantage versus Heather, especially from a male's perspective, where it's like, oh, like that's just how guys grow up. And represented kind of like, y'all know me, I love history. He represented this history that he's like, I'm not gonna let go of this. I'm gonna take this wherever I go. I don't care if we're going out on the beach because they lived totally opposite lives. Spencer and Kenny and Brenda and Francis. They all lived separate lives, but they weren't different because although Kenny wore the dashiki and the fro, he still had things in common with Spencer. It's just their ideas separated them. And I think Spencer also showed that, like, well, we know the history, but like we're not living in that and we don't have to live in that. And it's like they got to come to some common ground, which I thought were the women, Brenda and Francis, because they understand, like, just because they're the ones speaking on the realities of life doesn't mean Brenda and Francis don't know what's going on either. They're also living in that life of we see what we've been through, but we see where we are now, where we can go. And I think they kind of held that space. They were like the mediators because they didn't let that get in the way of it. We can have our opinions, but at the end of the day, we're family, so we have to come together and we can talk civilized. We can talk we can have these conversations, but I think when you have them, you still got to have respect for each other. And they had to learn how to respect each other. And you don't do that talking about hard topics. You do that by just, like you said, they were joking around. They were pranking. Oh, I do like you. Yeah, 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 yeah. But we don't agree on certain things. And that's okay. But can you get along? Can you function? Because otherwise, we can't be together. We can't. And that's why I think a lot of times they didn't really go out there as much. And which is why Evelyn, the grandmother, was so upset specifically at Brenda because she was like, well, you know how important family is, like regardless of this ego, this male ego, you understand, like you have the power basically. Her character kind of threw me off because at one point she couldn't stand her, wasn't even talking to her, and then she came around out of nowhere like, "Hey, girl, what happened?" But whatever, she came around, right? Heather took advantage of Drew because she was old enough to know. Let's say she was like 21, and he was what 15, 16. She was old enough to know that she could have messed with any other guy, but she didn't grow up, you know, or maybe she felt like she grew up too fast because how did you not really get a sense that your dude was cheating? Maybe she did and she didn't care because it's like, well, we making money, we make money. But he also had that side of Harold, played by Morris Chestnut. He also showed that side of like, okay, I'm young, I'm black, I'm making money. All these girls want me. Why should I settle down? Because he wasn't looking really for like marriage, but everybody was going with the flow. And I think his character kind of showed what the movie was about too. Like it showed the normalcy of what we accept, even if it doesn't make you happy. And his father bonded off this normalcy. And I think that's the issue with the film. Drew didn't need to have sex to understand love. He didn't need to have sex to grow up. Sex is a way that people do grow up in certain circumstances because it is such an intimate thing that you do have to be careful when you do it. But they didn't. His father didn't teach him that. His father was like, "Oh, you hit them skins. All right, I love you more." And it's like, what are you even talking about? And you had to let another person out. And nothing's wrong with therapy at all, but you can't just allow the therapist to like raise your kid. She's there for a guide to guide you, to help you, redirect you. Hey, not be so hard on yourself. Let's find the root of these issues. You know what I mean? And the root is the home. The root is he didn't need to change, but his family did. He was still this caring kid who he just was misunderstood. And even though everybody else wanted him to change, his cousin, Junior, he accepted him off. He was like, okay, maybe you don't dress like us, talk like us, but I still want him around because the whole time his friends was the ones that was really like making fun of him and making him try and talk to this chick who Lauren Kelly, who they all know Kelly or Lauren Kelly doesn't date anybody. She has standards. Like, why would she want you, Drew? Right? But she did want him. She wanted him because he was easy access. Oh, he adores me. I like that. I like attention. But she wanted attention from everybody because her family wasn't giving her attention. Her mom wasn't giving her attention. Her father wasn't giving her attention. So she would seek that elsewhere. She was like the girl version of Drew, but she was looked at as kind of like, oh, she's evil. She's mean. She broke his heart. But she was also outside in this world trying to figure out herself. She was probably awkward too, but everybody just looks at her body or look how she looks and who she been with. And everybody's overlooking her. But she's a girl, so they ain't gonna really make fun of her too much long as she putting out. And that was kind of the same with Drew. And so with Junior. And like all they talked about was girls, 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 girls. And it's like, okay, it's more to life than that. All they did was party and just find chicks. And it's like, yeah, you can go to the dance, you can dance, have fun. Yeah, you can go like whoever, but that's not the only thing that he needed. Like he needed friends. Maybe he do just need to go out once in a while and just breathe and kick it. But what was your favorite part of the film? And also, what was a part of the film where you didn't really care for?
Um, my favorite part is probably when Drew Tate, Lawrence Tate, when he made that contraption with Morris Chestnut's character Harold. He, I'm not sure what sciencey thing he did or engineering thing he did, but he was able to trap, you know, Harold in the car, and he couldn't really get out, and he
Mhm.
and it kind of showed, how smart he is making that contraption, and how he wanted to stick up for Heather's character,
Mhm.
played by AJ Johnson. And I didn't realize that was AJ Johnson. Oh wow. But yeah, that was my favorite scene because Morris Chestnut's character Harold was panicking, and Laurent, you kind of saw that Drew was sweet but smart, and yeah, he did like a prank. I feel like I'm a prankster. If I could do those pranks, I would, but uh, people would get mad at me though. But but I think that part really was my favorite part.
Mhm.
Some laughter, but it showed his genius, and it showed, his heart. His heart was in the right place.
I think my favorite part of the film, I liked
Were they funny?
when everyone started getting along. Like even the father, Kenny and Spencer, I think that's when like the tension was down, people could relax. Like even Kenny and Brenda, they were going out. I feel like they don't really go out as much either. The tension was gone, and I think that was probably the best part. Now, if Drew and Heather were the same age, they would have been perfect for each other, but they're not. And I think Lauren and Drew could have dated because she like going on adventures too, but she was so caught up on. I think she had sex too early too because they're the same age, and how that she showed the opposite side of how it can like not ruin you, but it can like make you want stuff you don't need. Like she said, her and her boyfriend broke up. He was definitely smashing other girls, girl. Just because you wasn't doesn't mean he was. But yeah, that was an interesting film. But I do like the people who played in it. And do you have any final thoughts on this film?
Final thoughts. I would say it was, it had a potential to be great. I just think there was some things that I still it's almost like it needs a part 2, but the part 2 should have been in part 1 type of thing. So uh yeah, but I feel like Lorenz Tate, I think all the actors really did a great job, but I think Lorenz Tate character definitely saved the movie, um, based on his acting, how he would talk to Jada Pinkett's character and AJ Johnson's character, how he would talk to the doll. You kind of felt for him and empathized for him. I did like when the parents would get along too, but it seemed like they were just so angry. And I probably like the Lorenz Tate scenes more than the other adult scenes, or like the politics scenes. But I also was like they're at the beach. That was nice. But I also thought, I don't get the whole beach thing. But that's just me. You're just soaking up the sun. I probably would play volleyball. I probably play volleyball. But overall, I think it could have been a little better in every way. But yeah, like you said, that whole virginity thing shouldn't have happened the way it happened, because when you're sad, it's like, should you really do it anyway? Like, you're sad, oh no, my husband's cheating, blah blah blah. It's like, are you even in the right mind space? It's not like you're divorced and he's a kid. So, if he was 18, maybe, but, he's not going to say no because he wants some. And, with a lot of guys, they don't really realize, that it's wrong because they just want to get some, or they just don't realize it. They might be excited. It's sort of like, oh, the babysitter, and the child, and oh, I think this is normal. And but then you grow up and you're very sexual and you wonder why. But then you gotta go to therapy to get to the deep rooted stuff. But now I'm just talking. But overall, I think it could have been a little better film. But it wasn't bad. It just wasn't great.
I'm building a virtual DVD wall. Are you going to add this on your DVD shelf, or are you just going to rent it and put it back in the Dropbox?
I ain't buying it. I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. It's missing some ingredients to make it taste more, and it's something's missing, and there were some questions left unanswered, and I don't know. But the cast was great. The cast, it wasn't the cast. I don't know if it was the script. I don't know if it was missing. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting it in the Dropbox.
Yeah.
I'm not putting it, I'm not.
I'm probably going to pull up to Blockbuster and drop it off as well. Now, growing up, I probably would have put it on my shelf because, it's star studded. But when you look back at it as an adult, you're just kind of like, I don't know about that. Because they never said it was wrong or right, but kind of like leaves it up to the audience on your interpretation. But I would rent it, but I'm probably not gonna buy it on DVD and put it up because you want to show this to other people. You want to be like, oh, let's put this on. I don't know if I'll be like, let's put this. But yeah, great acting, great actors and actresses in the film. Outside of the script, outside of everything else, you got to see them kind of like grow up because then you see them dove into other things and they made a really good impact. This film did have to be made so they could keep stepping up on them stones and build what they wanted. I'm pretty sure this was one of Jada Pinkett Smith's favorite, like not favorite, one of her first films. Because she was really young. She looked really young. Like she might have even been in Different World at this time. I don't know, but maybe that was after Different World. I don't know when Different World came out, but I don't know around that time. But I'm glad to see that everybody kind of is still around and still acting. And you said the dad Kenny was in Scandal. I haven't seen Scandal yet. I've only seen one episode so far. But y'all let me know in the comments what y'all thought about this film and if I look like the doll. And yeah,
Oh my
thanks
goodness.
guys for coming on the show. I'm gonna leave the link in the description where to find and join the group to dive into the conversation. Go over to their channel on YouTube, IB Ballin Basketball Show. Subscribe, like, comment, engage. She be posting. Say something in the comments. Don't be afraid. We're not gonna bash you. But if you say something slick, we might delete your comment. But we
I'm
might.
gonna respond to all of your comments. We don't always have to agree, but just keep it peaceful and respectful. But I always respond, just give me time. I also read that the director Matty Rich might have been 22 at the time when this came out. So that could be a reason. Like he was a young filmmaker. And he also made another movie called Straight Out of Brooklyn, which I actually have that on DVD.
Oh, wow.
So I thought that was funny. And I think he was 19 when that came out. So I don't know if he's 22 still. Well, obviously not, but I think he was young when this came out. So that could be a reason why I feel like there's like some things that could have been added or taken out or stuff like that.
Dope background, dope film, but I'm not. I'll rent it, but I'm not about to buy it. Thank
The
y'all for
scenery was good.
listening. You said what?
The scenery was good too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, comment, subscribe, share this video if you've done everything else, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.